So with an actor, they might be looking to get a new role. Say they've played a lawyer in a show for 7 seasons and now they're looking to get a mother role or a maternal role. And with women in business, for example, they can be looking for a promotion and I can make them look like a leader. I can make them look more powerful. I can make them look more expensive.
That's Kat Pope. I'm Cara Duffy, and this is the Powerful Ladies podcast. Welcome to the Powerful Ladies podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I am so excited to have you on today. You've been on the list for quite some time. We've been working together for, I don't even know how long now, and you've been crushing it. So before we jump in and I ask all my questions, let's tell everyone your name, where you are in the world, and what you're up to.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Kat Pope. I'm a fashion stylist based in New York City.
And you've been doing this for how long now?
Longer than I realize sometimes. So I've been in New York working for myself as my own boss for about 8 years, in New York for 10 years, but doing fashion for, a good 6-7 years before that. So I basically, since I was in, I count since I was in university when I was interning.
Yeah. And you
which is a long time ago.
Just long enough to be very polished and seasoned. You do work with a lot of big names. You've had a very illustrious career. I know that you, like many of my clients, do forget to brag about yourself and how incredible you are. So let's take a moment. Who are some of the big names or the big experiences you've had that people would go, oh, wow, like that's the amazing work that Kat's doing?
Well, thank you. So I think my clientele definitely spans both the entertainment and the fashion industries. So I could divide it into those two in a way. For fashion, I worked at Vogue, which I think is still such an incredible experience that I'm really proud of. So that was Vogue Australia, which is such a cool arm of Vogue. It's a lot more youthful and a lot more fresh because it's just got this sort of Australian spirit about it. So it's different to Vogue US, but it's very cool and very prestigious. And I worked there for a long time, so I'm very proud of my time there. With fashion as well, now in New York City, I work with some really big retailers like Neiman Marcus, Zara, Bloomingdale's. So to have those big brands sort of, tapping me and my expertise is really quite a big achievement for me. And then entertainment-wise, I have Oscar winners and Tony winners and Emmy winners and Golden Globe winners. So I've got my sights on Grammys as well. So I just, those beautiful performers and actors and singers that just are at the top of their game are sort of who I'm excited to have on my resume as well.
What do you love about styling?
I love that every day is different and I get to be creative and I get to bring ideas to people, but I also get ideas from other people. It's always collaborative. This morning I went to a meeting with a designer that I work with, and I brought her an idea and she's like, whoa, this is cool. And then the whole collection has gone into this new, direction in a way. I mean, not to take, too much ownership of her end product, but it's really collaborative and really exciting. And I love that I've found a way to have a business that is creative, not just a hobby that's creative. I think that's what I love about styling.
You and I have had a lot of conversations about why styling matters. And we've talked about how when you work with people, you're able not just to transform how they feel in what they're wearing, but you can really propel people's careers based on having great styling. Can you explain a little bit more about that? Like, what does good styling do for the clients that you're working with?
Well, it can propel their career, but also at the end of the day, I've learned that it helps them earn more money. So that's like the biggest thing that sort of I'm coming into, ownership of with my skill is that styling really helps someone, I don't know whose quote it was, but there's that quote that it's an armor. It's how you present yourself to the world. Yeah, it is. But also, like, you can convey a message. So you can convey a message, and I can tweak that message a million different ways. So with an actor, they might be looking to get a new role. Say they've played a lawyer in a show for 7 seasons, and now they're looking to get a mother role or a maternal role, and somehow they seem different. I don't know, you can be both, obviously, but they can communicate things visually. With women in business, for example, they can be looking for a promotion, and I can make them look like a leader. I can make them look more powerful. I can make them look more expensive. If you're an ad exec, who I work with ad execs too, like they want to look like other people are spending money with them, so you should spend your money with them. So that's sort of how it can help people, and it's so important because it gives people a really big tool, and that it's also they enjoy doing it. So everyone finds it very rewarding, I guess. Yeah.
We've also talked in our one-on-one calls about some of the amazing like transformations you've given people and how much it's changed how they view themselves. And like it's a clear pivot point for some of your clients. Without revealing who they are, what are some impacts you've had on the clients that you've worked with?
I think, if we're coming to, let's talk about actors, for example. Sometimes people are making a transition from, say, TV to film. And so you need to look like a leading person, someone that can carry a whole cast, a whole storyline, a 2.5-hour storyline versus, a 40-minute or an hour, 60-minute sort of time slot. So those sort of things get told to me a lot. Like, I make someone like a leading lady, a leading man. And I hear that a lot. Or also with, and they get those roles. So that's the transformation, I guess. I'm trying to remind myself to come back to the question. But, with companies, sometimes with executives at companies, they might want to say they're a heritage company. You'll know who I'm talking about. A heritage company that wants to be perceived as a tech company. Well, they are a tech company, but is that what people think of them? And so their clothes should reflect, those sort of, and that's worked. So they continue to keep booking me to keep that message, and that visual, information keep coming across. So I think those kinds of transformations are, they've got a goal and they need to express that, or they have a goal and they need to reach that by communicating things to the public. So that's usually it.
Anytime that you're working in a transformation-based business where you are so intimately participating in someone's career and life and their storyline, and in your world, you're also getting to sit with them in all their thoughts about themselves and their body and their shape and what they look like and are they good enough, which means there's a lot of emotions on the line.
Always, yeah.
What are some moments when you have like cried from joy and appreciation for what you've been able to do, or like how your clients have responded to what you've done for them?
It's incredibly intimate how someone, shares with you how they need help in, presenting themselves to the public. So you're right that there's a lot of layers to that, and how to protect them and arm them. And, I think usually you see it in the picture when they're extremely proud and confident and looking hot and looking cool and looking powerful. And, sometimes it's when those pictures, they then use them on their Instagram, or they're in magazines or best dress lists in great situations. So when you see that everyone else has recognized what you've told them that they're going to achieve, or, communicate with your help, that's, I think, I think that's what best dress list tends to help do very quickly. But also when they see a picture that they're proud of and other people are, excited by it, I think that does a lot. I think also with people who aren't actors, because most of my, I don't know what the balance is right now, but, I think for people that aren't actors, that's when they get their goals, or they get what they're seeking to achieve. So it happens, and it's just, usually a picture of some form, I guess.
Yeah. When I know you've gotten some texts also that have just floored you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, you're right. There's sometimes when they just tell me, and it's just really, really rewarding. I've helped some people that were friends of clients, and I remember a client saying to me, like, you've completely changed these women's presentations of themselves. They can't believe how they look. Like you wouldn't believe how confident they feel. And with actors, they've told me like, oh my gosh, I can't go back to life without you. So I do get that feedback. You're right. It's a really rewarding part of it for sure.
If we go back to 8-year-old you, first, where is she living? What was she interested in? And would she imagine that this is your life today?
So I moved to Australia from England when I was 8, actually. So the world was certainly expanding at a rapid pace to me that I had no idea where Australia was. I wasn't like badly educated, but I just had no idea how far away it was from where we currently lived. And it was extremely sunny and extremely cool. Like I remember we went to Bondi Beach like day 1 or day 2 and had smoothies, which was very tropical theming and very cool. So my world right then was just completely expanding rapidly. And then, yeah, living in Australia was just so much fun, very outdoorsy, very summery, very energized. I think the UK, I don't know really about that much of it now because I haven't lived there for a long time, but it felt very different. And so Australia was really great. I guess I would have never had any clue about having like a creative job, but at that time I was definitely creative. So I'm really happy that people in my life helped me get to have a creative career. Because, I guess I remember like at this elementary school I went to at 8, I did like those enrichment classes where you did like something extra. So I did painting, like I did art and literature and stuff. So I was learning kind of like more fun things creatively. So probably that I was coming into my creativity perhaps.
When did you realize that you wanted to be working in fashion in some capacity?
Oh, I remember exactly the moment. I remember exactly the conversation. It's quite funny. So my dad has his PhD from Cambridge in like chemical engineering. He's incredibly smart, incredibly, formal in his understanding of education, always wanted us to go to university. So all 3 of us kids did go to uni. But I have always shopped like crazy. I had an afternoon job like quite early. I think I lied. I think I said I was old enough to have a job after school when I wasn't. And I would take that paycheck, like it wasn't a check, it was cash. I'd go and just like buy a handbag like every week, like an inexpensive one every week. So I was always shopping, always had new stuff. People would always say like, oh my God, where's that from? And I'd be like, sports girl or like whatever. So I always felt like trend driven when I was a kid. I'm not so much like that now, but I got a job and then went to university like it was expected of me, did an arts degree. And this girl I knew, or a friend of a friend, said, I can't go to my internship on Friday. You should ask Kat. Like, she really loves shopping. And so I said, oh, yeah, I'll cover for you. So I went to an internship cover day, I guess, at Shop Till You Drop magazine. And I got there and I was like, yes, like, yes. Thank you. And I remember telling my dad, like, I'm going to go work at Shop Till You Drop magazine. And the name is obviously Cheeseball. Like, it was based on Lucky. Do you remember that magazine, Lucky? It was very product heavy. And so I was there and there was just like piles and piles of stuff. And my job was to like sort it to get it back. It had already been photographed. I wasn't doing the photograph part. I was just packing it up and like invoicing it and like mailing it. And I was literally in a stationery cupboard, but I was so happy to see that all these women, and a lot of them I knew were moms, and they were all women everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, how can you sit at a desk and talk about like bracelets all day? And it was just fun and cool. Yeah. But the desk is the important element because it was still a job. The desk represented structure. So my dad was sort of horrified in a way that it didn't sound real-ish. It didn't sound legitimate, I guess, in some way. But he supported me. They all did. So I worked super hard to like still have a job, still get my degree done, and then keep up. Like they let me keep coming to this internship. And that woman actually ended up giving me my first job out of university at a different magazine. So yeah, it was cool.
How crazy that it all happened just by chance.
I know. And thing is, I really like the girl. Her name's Crystal. Like, I don't know her very well. She's still friends with my very good mutual friend. So we're very close to the mutual friend. And I always tell her, I'm like, I love her. Like what she did for me was massive because I know a
Yeah.
lot of people that don't know what their career should look like for a very
Mhm.
long time, or they can't find it until they're older or whatever. And I just like knew, and it was great.
Mhm.
And I actually created a different job for myself in America, but magazines, it was just like all I worked for in uni. So to get
Mhm.
to, so I once I graduated, I walked into a job, and I was really happy with that. So I feel lucky by chance. Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, and we were connected through the amazing Britt Theodora,
Mm-hmm.
who's also been a podcast guest and is a client. And I think that what a lot of people don't know is that from the outside, being a stylist, they imagine, oh, you shop all day, you work by
Mm-hmm.
yourself, and you kind of just run around fixing things, making people look great, and you're out. But this
Mm,
is a legitimate business. Like it is a full
mm,
business. You have a team, you have structures, you have
yeah.
SOPs. There's all the CEO work that has to happen still is
Hmm.
there. All the CFO work is there. What do you wish people knew about styling as a business? And what do you wish you knew when you were making that jump from the magazine land into the styling world?
I think, yeah, sometimes I get clients that I feel are happy to pay what you're worth, but don't really understand like how much you could do for them. Like sometimes
Yeah.
clients want you to just get more of what they know or what they like you're like a service, but it's so much more than that particular side of it. So you're right. It's like it's really not about shopping at all. And at least it's definitely not for me. And I enjoy a lot of planning. It's great because you can generate obviously future business, but also just like to keep that continuity and consistency is really good. So it's
Mhm.
very little shopping. And the CEO time is pretty massive. I thoroughly enjoy that part. It gives me a structure that I had at magazines that I don't have, as I didn't think I could have as a freelancer. That's what you and I have worked a lot on. It's like it can feel really chaotic. Each day can be different, which can be a lot of fun, but is that good for your mental health? Always not necessarily. So
Mhm.
having that CEO time gave me a lot of structure, but also it was entirely necessary because the business was just churning through work
Yeah.
and clients. So it has to have um, all of that back end stuff that keeps every other business going. And
Mhm.
it's extremely rewarding to see, like I keep coming back to, a creative position have all of that along with it. And yeah, it's a lot more CEO time than people expect for sure.
Yeah. What are you proud of being the founder of the Cat Pope Studios? Like what?
I'm proud of, honestly, a lot of things. I look behind you, you can't see it. I could always maybe give you a picture for it, but behind you are all like my boxes where all my clients like names are on. And I don't know, there's at least 30 of them perhaps at this point. I'm really proud of how loyal my clients are. I'm
Mhm.
proud that this space and this, staff and this reputation is mine. That's my reputation I'm very proud of. I know that that helps me a lot. We've talked about how important referrals are. They mean a lot to me. But I'm extremely grateful for the loyalty people show me. And I'm really proud of that because I've earned that. And it's not easy to do, especially like with Hollywood stars. There's this like reputation that they're fickle or but they're, people that I've been in their life. Some of these people I've known longer than like my high school friends now, you know what I mean? Who are very close to me. So it's, yeah, and longer than my kids. So there are a lot of these people are in my life, and I really, really value that loyalty. I'm very proud of it.
There's a lot of changes that have been happening in the fashion world from
Hmm.
being more inclusive from a diverse perspective, from a size perspective, from an
Hmm.
age perspective. There are a lot of stylists who only work with supermodel looking celebrities
Mm.
and executives.
Yeah,
And while you also work with those looking people, you also work with people who are a full range
yeah,
of
full range.
body shapes,
Hmm.
sizes, ages. And I think that that is like you are able to make anyone who shows up in front of you look incredibly glamorous and so stylish and so chic. That is a gift that I don't think most stylists have.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you build that skill? Was it from a passion of wanting to make sure everyone could look as beautiful and show them that they could?
It's
Mhm.
it's that now. Like now that's what it is. I think
Mhm.
now it's just crazy how limited options are for it. Like if we're talking about size inclusivity, I think it's idiotic at how limited the
Yeah.
sizes are. Like what a business, you know, like opportunity to be missed by brands. It started as just like, well, I had to work really hard to get good at it because what I mean by that is like I have clients who are like kids who are 14, right? And
Mhm.
if you're 14, you're not quite an adult, you're not quite a kid. That age group is really challenging to dress. There's really very little things. You have to just be really cautious and, you know, not make them too sexy or too whatever. And then, but I also dress, you know, extended sizes and plus sizes. I've got a client who's 7 foot something, you know, his feet are size 15. So it doesn't just mean
Yeah.
curvy girls or
Mhm.
plus size women that I'm talking about, but um, I think I just felt like it was a great thing to learn about and a great skill to expand, and like someone could do it, like why not, you know, I can be
Mhm.
that person. And these opportunities that have come my way, I don't know whether they're related. I don't know whether people go, oh, she's good, you know. I would like that, you know, to be the case, but there's so many different body types. I wonder, you know, it maybe is a coincidence, maybe not. But I always just try to work with someone that I think is really cool and I respect them. And so,
Mhm.
regardless of size, I will take on the work if I respect the person and what they're working on or churning out into the world. So, that's sort of the common link, I think, is just I
Mhm.
think these people are doing great work. And if they're, you know, a size whatever, I'm not going to say no. I will work super, super hard to find as many options or as good options for the sample size clients. And yeah, I don't think really any of my clients are sample size, to be honest. I think
Yeah.
that's boring.
Long gone. Yeah. Well, it's especially for those of us who are older and especially those of us who grew up in the 90s with the heroin chic look. I don't know, like there's most likely permanent damage that all of us have who made it through the 90s, who were paying attention to celebrities
Yeah.
in fashion, where even if we're like, oh, yeah, it's acceptable today, like we get it, we understand it, theoretically, we know, but there's a part of us that's still like, ugh, not
Mm.
enough. And how have you seen like your perspective, your clients' perspectives of that not enough shift as you're working with them?
Good question. I think well, yeah, once you start making, it's sort of overused in a way, the best version of themselves thing, but I think it probably comes down to that. Like people can look great how they currently are. You know, right now I am 16 weeks pregnant and look 6 months pregnant below here. So like I'm using the same approach, like, well, this is what I have, this is who I
Mhm.
am, and I have to, you know, do the work to get what will work and what will look great, blah, blah, blah. So I think it's about like, you know, you have to accept yourself first and
Mhm.
start to feel confident. These people are going on stage. So I don't think necessarily like whether they're business people or actors or not, they're needing outfits because they're public presenting, is that
Mhm.
publicly presenting themselves in some capacity. So I think they are, you know, working hard to feel confident from a place too. So I think everyone's
Mhm.
just like working together to be presenting the best version of themselves, even though I think
Mhm.
that's overused. I think that's the case here.
Yeah. What do you wish people knew about fashion and styling? Like, what are a few of your hot tips that you just think
Mm-hmm.
everyone needs to know?
I think maybe the first one would be that you don't need to spend a lot of money. On the other hand, spending a lot of money can be a good move also. So I don't think you need to spend a lot of money keeping up with trends. I think trends are, I've now seen, I don't know, some of these trends, I could name a million of them 4 times since, in 4 iterations over the years. So I think maybe trends isn't necessarily what everyone should be a slave to. And I think people buy a lot of things to keep up with them. I think that you should find what suits you and then refresh that rather than being a slave to what's current or whatever. And then I do think there is something important in investing in some things. I think looking a certain, level of polish comes with quality. So that's probably the first few things. So like, don't spend a lot of money, but spend it where you should, maybe. And what else? It was like what people don't know about fashion, right?
Yeah, just what are some things you find yourself telling your friends and your clients all the time?
Yeah. You can rewear things, I think, as well. A lot of clients will rewear things that they love. I think that work well for them. It's not always like wear it once and then get rid of it. I think a lot of things just aren't for you, and that's okay. You can really appreciate, in my current case, like crop tops, and not try to adopt that for yourself. You can just appreciate it and move on. And I think I'm lucky that I get to sometimes use trends or use fads in a photo shoot capacity and then not have to, impose them on an executive or whatever. So I think a lot of it is the trends thing. I think it's just like, don't be a slave to them. They're going to come back around. It's just a ploy to get you to spend more money. So just pick what suits you.
Yeah. When you look at the journey you've been on, how have powerful women and men been critical in your career and shifted your trajectory?
I think powerful women, well, I think the loyalty comes through there. I think women are far more supportive of other women. And, I think that loyalty of like, perhaps, for example, a star that I work with might get a magazine opportunity, and that magazine might be like, yeah, we'll sell it ourselves. And my client might be like, no, it has to be Kat. And that's an opportunity for me and an opportunity for them. And, and that loyalty there means a lot and will help me in many ways. But they could easily just say, oh, and sometimes men do that. They just don't think perhaps that like, oh, okay, yeah, they use their guy, whereas women will go, no, we must have Kat. And that sort of female, loyalty, I think, and you have to be powerful to speak up for yourself and what you want too, I think. And to book me, when there's times when they might not get given budget. That happens a lot with celebrities that, the studio will book them on a press tour or a press occasion. And then there'll be some that like they can self-style or self-transport for. And those clients will book me out of pocket for that. So I think that loyalty is really important to me. And then I think women also pay women what they ask for. I don't think many women nickel and dime me over a rate ever. I think they usually just do it and move on. And then, the referrals that come after that too are really amazing. So I think powerful women looking out for you and lifting you up when, their opportunities are presented to them and they find out ways to bring you with them. I have a client who, mentioned me in her Vogue interview, like those kinds of things, like where they talk about you and they brag about you, bragging about you, rather, and it's wonderful. I do the same thing back, but that's, I think, is really great.
You've also been going through the fashion industry where things like being a mom and getting pregnant are controversial, which is so dumb. So how have you fully stepped into being a mom and making that just part of your brand and just what's part of the Kat Pope Studio experience?
I think I remember like when I had my daughter Lily, my first kid, I had to get used to saying that. I remember telling my agent at the time that I took him out for lunch. I think he thought I was about to break up with him or telling him something horrible. And I cried when I told, just the confrontation of like, I'm pregnant. And I wasn't sad. I just felt like I was letting him down somehow. And he was like, oh my God, okay. And then this time I emailed my agent. She's a mom too, but I don't think that was different. It's just the fact that I felt differently. So I emailed her like, hey, like great news. And they were all obviously super excited, but it was
Mhm.
business as usual in a great way because it was like, yeah, this isn't gonna like end your,
Mhm.
I definitely felt when I had Lily, I felt nervous that I was going to fall off the face of the earth. I don't know why at the time. It's daunting. It's a big change. You're going to take some time off, of course, and your priorities shift. But then I just started bringing her to work, and it was just really great that she got to see me doing my thing. She tells
Mhm.
people I like do clothes. In some capacity. So I love that she can see that like she asked me not too long ago actually. She said, "Why are you rushing me?" And I said, oh, it was like for morning time, and Jeremy, my husband, had to get to work. He had a meeting with his CEO. She's like, "Oh, he's rushing me. Why is he rushing me?" And I said, "He's got to get to work. He can't be late." And then she's like, well, why can't he be late? And I said, because he has a meeting with his boss. And she said, okay, okay. She said, who's your boss? I said, I'm the boss. And she's like, oh, and it just felt cool and it felt, fun that she got to see it. So I've never really separated her from my work life
Mhm.
since people liked having her around. I mean, she's not here all the time. She goes to school
Yeah.
and after school care, obviously, but I have clients that are just really open-minded about the fact that sometimes she's going to be there if it's needed or if it's warranted and or if it's appropriate for me and they just roll with it. And so I never really feel intimidated by it anymore. And I
Mhm.
think it's just great to have the option to blend life when you need to and not
A-
pretend it's not there.
And what does Lily want to be when she grows up now?
I mean, unfortunately, at the moment, a princess, but we'll deal with that. It's a princess at the moment, but it's also a pilot. She would like to be a pilot. She likes flying and meeting them when they all greet you when you get on the plane, which is really cute. So
Yeah.
right now we're just trying to teach her about the world and going on vacations. And we bought her a globe and we tell her where her friends' families are from and the Olympics was really helpful for that. So maybe that's the
Yeah.
pilot, but the princess was. They all have a little princess phase. I think.
Mhm.
Hopefully, it's just a bit monotonous.
Yes. When you look at how your career has changed and how your business has changed, what are you the most proud of?
I think I am proud that I feel a level of authority now that I have been doing it just long enough. I think I feel very confident in what I bring to my clients. I feel very confident when I speak for um, or speak to my ideas or share my ideas. And I think I have an understanding that I am an expert at this point, and it feels very nice and different than how you feel when you're younger and when you're just starting out. So I'm really proud
Mhm.
that that is where things are at the moment, and that I can keep expanding on that and being confident to go after new opportunities um, because of that. And yeah, I'm proud that I like I'm earning money. You know what I mean? Like I'm proud that I don't have to check my account before I like
Mhm.
which card I put in at the dinner with the girls. And that
Mhm.
happens when you start a business or when you're in your 20s or whatever. And it's nothing
Yeah.
to be embarrassed about, but I love that now I have, enough to be just doing normal things without stressing about it. I don't even need to be rich, but
Yeah. Well, and you've
that's
done
great.
so much work in really prioritizing the systems that allow you to have that financial security. We were trying to get you out here for our Have It All Method panel, and unfortunately, the timing didn't work. But when
Mm-hmm.
I think about you and how you've been stepping into how you can have it all, you're such an example of that. You are married, you're a mom, you are running this business, you have
Mm-hmm.
clients you're proud of, you have a team that you're supporting, you're really focused on hitting those wealth building goals for your family and
Mm-hmm.
yourself that your business is allowing you to do.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that you are juggling and managing, but being really intentional with them.
Yeah.
When you think about your all, like how you're trying to have the all that you really want,
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does that mean to you? How would you describe your all to someone else?
I think, thank you for all those nice things, by the way. It feels good to hear them. I think my all is definitely a mix of career and family. I have three
Mhm.
siblings, and always thought I would have at least two kids. So it feels like the timing, obviously, with another one on the way, feels really great because I feel ready for that and I feel ready to approach all of that. But my career was always like, people are always like, oh, she's a career girl. And like that meant like I was always working more than some people who said it. I don't know. But I always knew that people knew I identified with my career as my career, my identity were part of the same, were really linked. And so I think for me, having it all sort of will look like me reaching the top levels of those career things and not having had a happy family life, so
Mhm.
I don't necessarily want my career to overshadow my family life. I'm super lucky that I can say most of the time now I don't want to work on the weekend,
Mhm.
but I will work damn hard all week long to avoid that if possible. But I just think it's not one or the other, but it is very difficult and very
Yeah.
exhausting most of the time. So I think achieving those, I've still got goals for my career, and I know what they look like, and I know what I'm working towards. But yeah, starting a family wasn't postponed, I would say, in that case,
Mhm.
which I feel really proud of. So
And it's been a big reason why you having a team has been so important so that
yeah.
you're spreading the work requirements out.
Yeah, I think regardless, I think the team was probably necessary at some point. But it definitely helped me to keep my priorities in check, and the team has enabled me to scale. And I think I can just keep taking on more work, and I can't be everywhere at once, whether it's work related or kid related. But I also, yeah, I worked so many weekends in before I was a mom, like for other people and for myself. So I just don't want I want balance, but I want, I still would say that my identity is really linked to my career, so I don't want to give that up either.
Yeah. When you think of the words powerful and ladies, how would you
Mhm.
define them? And do their definitions change when they're next to each other?
Hmm. I think powerful to me is ownership of yourself and your choices, and powerful women to me look like leaders, and I like that I've always sort of strive to be a leader in the somewhat small ways that I can. But I always think of powerful as a leader, and I know a lot of powerful women who are leaders in their caste or in their company or in their home, and so that's a lot of that to me. And then ladies is acting classy amongst each other, looking out for each other. You mentioned Britt. Like Britt and I are both stylists. We work for the same person. We had the same agent. I support her beyond, and vice versa. We're so close. We're so collaborative for things. I call her for advice and she calls me for advice. And, being there's enough work for everybody, that aspect, I think, just rather than being catty or competitive. I don't know if people are still catty and competitive. Maybe they are, but the women in my life are very supportive and fair. And so I think, yeah, that's the ladies thing, like looking classy and like approaching things in a manner that you would be proud of if
Mhm.
you look back on it.
You've been taking a lot of steps to move into the thought leader space in the
Mm-hmm,
fashion and styling world.
mm-hmm,
You've been invited to speak at a bunch of panels. You've been
mm-hmm,
doing more PR things like this.
mm-hmm.
When you think of yourself in that role and you have to start talking about who you are and what you're doing, does it like, do you reflect back and realize, like, holy shit, like I've done so many cool things? Like, what are these opportunities to share about your perspective and what you see? How's it changing how you're thinking about yourself?
Definitely yeah, I'm getting more comfortable expressing them and giving them. I've started giving myself time to reflect. I allocated time ahead of talking to you. I allocated time ahead of going to Scanlon and Theodore, like to think about what, and when you're always on the go and not prioritizing those things, you sort of you forget them a little, I think. So right now I'm really happy with the recognizability of some of my achievements, you know, like you said, Vogue and Neiman Marcus, like these things are they have a level of prestige with them, and that's a, you know, sort of a success marker for me in a way. But yeah, I just have to keep reminding myself to talk about it in a way that it's very sort of, I was excited to get them, so I should be excited to talk about them. You know, I think that's a lot of it.
Well, and you've also done a lot of work for Fashion Week in New York. You were flown
Hmm.
to India this past year with a client.
Yeah.
Like you're hanging out in some of the things that people have on their bucket lists, and you've done them.
Yeah, it does. I have an extraordinary life and an extraordinary career, and I am getting better at explaining that to people or showing that to people for sure. And you know, I love like that I live in New York City. It's not an easy achievement. Obviously, it's extremely expensive and competitive, and so those things I'm definitely I have to get better at communicating to clients, especially, you know, that they're tapping into that as part of the product that I'm offering. So I think there's a lot of sense in being better at that. But you know, I've always just been like someone who just like gets on with the job and wasn't so focused on having any sort of public, you know, I didn't
Yeah.
think I needed to do PR kind of things. And it's not that I need to, but it's exciting and it's fun and you should, you know, be proud of your achievements. So I think that I'm glad that you support me in many of those ways. So I appreciate that coaching goes beyond, you know, the business aspects and more into some of the future things too, you know.
Hmm. Well, and I just think they're so like you're so good at what you do. Like the way that you have transformed your clients' lives
Mm.
and the impact you've left on them is extraordinary. And you're so talented at what you do. Like there's a lot of stylists out there, and some of them have a very specific niche or a very specific
Hmm.
look that you call them for if you want that look. But I think one of your true talents is really listening to what your
Hmm.
client wants and being like, okay, we can make that happen. Let me get my magic wands. 1 second.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, and it's not, you're not putting yourself before the clients. You're really putting your client and what they want and where they're going front and center. And you have that versatility to, you know, style the 7 foot tall man and style the 14-year-old so they look age appropriate and still sophisticated. Like you do all the
Hmm.
things. And it's not normal that you can do that. And I want
Hmm.
everyone to know who you are because you
Mm.
deserve to be known and acknowledged for that. But also there's so many people out there who need you. And like so many people think that a stylist isn't accessible for them.
Yeah.
And while it's still an investment, it's an investment that can transform their lives. And I think that there's a lot of people who are executives and speakers and in these public, there's so many more public facing jobs today than there used to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
that the same, like for people to invest in working with someone like you and that you have a proven track record of changing
Hmm.
their trajectory, like you should have a wait list at this point. And there are some months that I know you do, but that's what it should be like. Like there's so much room for your perspective and how you would solve some of these styling challenges. Because that's what they are, right? It's no matter
Yeah.
who shows up, it's like, okay, everyone's body is unique. Everyone's goal or why they need to be styled is unique.
Mm.
So sometimes you're hybriding 7 foot tall person who needs to not look overbearing sitting next to the women at the view, right? Because
Yeah.
that would be like, that's a real thing to kind of figure out. Like, how do you look great and make you fit into that scene in a way that
Yeah.
makes you powerful? And I don't think people realize um, you're so humble. So I'm doing a little bit of pushing you into these thought leader
Yeah,
spaces
I
because you
understand. I
should.
understand why and how and what benefits will come from that. I really do.
Mm.
I think sometimes for, you know, on my side of it at least, I think some of it is that you're just so busy in the weeds, and I think
Yes.
that's the message that you've been communicating to me a lot. And I need to continue listening to is like, it's important enough to rise, to take the time to separate it and allocate it. Like you call it CEO time. It's something different to CEO time, but it's something equally as important. And it's important because it will get me more clients and it will get me more feelings of, recognition perhaps, and all those feelings and all those things that can come from it, they're just as important. But I'm always like, yeah, but I got to do my receipts, and I've got to get this dress or whatever. I don't know, there's a million excuses, but some of them are excuses, I think. So I'm the same with social media. I never prioritize my social media. I know that that's wrong. I know that I need to improve that, and I've been working super hard at that. But I maybe it's the weeds of running a business. Maybe it's being client, like a service, a client service. And I think I always just put some other things first. And I think that they were right to do so. At the same time, I think more balance is definitely would have been wise. If I could have balanced a bit better, I wouldn't have to backpedal as much as I probably do now. But, you live and you learn. So I think that's sort of the focus of right now, right?
Yeah, and there's nothing that you're doing that I would classify at all as backpedaling.
No. But I mean, like, I wish I'd paid a little bit more attention to how important those seeds could have been if I planted them a bit before,
Yeah.
So, because everything grows with momentum. It is, yeah.
How has working with a coach changed things for you?
So, I firstly tell everyone I earn tons more money. That was the most immediate, obvious thing is like, wait, what? What she said worked. Oh my God, it worked. Oh my God, it worked. Do it again. Do it again. So that, thank you. And I'm definitely much more confident with how I perceive myself. I don't need to be, I am confident talking to clients. I could have probably always faked that to the degree that I needed if I wasn't feeling it. However, I feel confident from the outset. I don't need to, get in the zone for things. I know what I'm talking about, and somehow coaching, somehow being in many ways that are probably hard to summarize, coaching did that for me. So just giving myself time and thought and work. We've done a lot of work. So it's been really helpful to have, I always joke that you're like my business therapist. You're more than that, obviously, but there is a lot of support that coaching gives you that you don't have running your business. My clients are not my bosses. I don't have a boss. My agent is not my boss. And by boss, I mean someone that you can go to for answers. I can run things by people, but I mostly write them in my Kara list. So having that support is really amazing and really transformative, I think.
Thank you. I'm glad.
Yeah.
No, I'm so proud. And also, like, not every person that I work with like dives so deeply into the homework, like between our sessions. And you've been so hungry about like, no, we are fixing this because I have bigger goals to chase after.
Yeah.
So whatever it is that we were tackling, you're like, oh, okay, I'll get it done before our next call. Because you wanted all this work we've been doing is just to move you more into that balance and into your zone of genius even more. So you can do more of what you love and make more money doing it. So I think ambition
plays into that, right? Like I'm a very ambitious person and you're a very ambitious person, and you're ambitious for me and you and all your other clients. So together, like you've got a cheerleader, but you've got someone to bounce things off, and you've got someone that's been studying and practicing and reading and doing all the things to give you, so to have those topics sort of have a bounce back. I've got young women in my life that support me that are much younger, that have not had these life experiences or professional experience. So I'm like, I always turn to them. I bounce things off them. And then you've got, like I said, I have an agent and an agent who has an assistant, but they're not focused on the things that their job isn't that either. So if you haven't got an actual mentor, a coach is a really wise investment, because most people don't have a mentor. And you get to the point where your mentor might become like a form of competition, not personally, but like if you're in the same world, and you're in the same pool of talent. So it's not always appropriate to call people that you worked for. I think I could, but
Yeah. And you do sometimes, right? Based on what the
yeah,
topic is. Yeah.
yeah. So I
I
think
also,
that the coaching's a mentor in a way.
yeah.
Yeah.
You've also done a really great job of tackling leading and coaching the women on your team. And that can be really tricky when it's in a creative space, because often I'll hear people say, oh, well, you can't teach people how to have good taste, or you
Yeah.
can't teach people how to have an eye. And there is a lot of styling that requires that. But there's also a whole lot of just project management that is not, you do not need to be creative to do in that space.
Yeah.
How have you stepped into your leadership, and how have you, like, I just see that you've leveled up your team so much because of the time you've been investing in them. So how have you balanced, with a small team, being a leader, being compassionate, coaching them, and also demanding excellence for the work that you guys are doing?
I mean, it's a lot of work. There's times when it's like hard to do so. You're moving fast and you're moving through projects and clients really quickly. And to make it a teaching moment would be really a lot of extra work in a way. But I do try to prioritize that. You can make it quick in a way, just giving them feedback of why the decisions or the choices they're submitting to me don't work, for instance. So the creative part, you're absolutely right. The creative part is actually not really much of what they do at this stage. We're getting to that point, and we're working on ways, all together to help minimize, if not mistakes, but if things weren't what I wanted, how that wouldn't cost too much time or energy for anyone. So we're working on ways for that. But for the most part, is just dedicating time to it, and that time is, bits and bobs each conversation. And I think when that falls to the wayside, it's really noticeable. So everyone has to be in. And I don't want the training to be forever, but it has, it had a period, and then it's changed, it's evolved again. And then hopefully it will teeter out and we're all independent. But for now, it's just a headspace we have to keep in.
Yeah. We ask everyone on the podcast where you put yourself on the powerful lady scale. If 0 is average everyday human and 10 is the most powerful lady you can imagine, where would you rank yourself today and on an average day?
I mean, I always like self-improvement and goals. So I'm not going to say too high on there because I know all the things yet to achieve and to work towards. But I feel pretty good about things. I don't know, 7, 8. How's that?
Perfect.
I don't want to sell myself short. I mean, an average day, I don't really have an average mood day. I don't know. I always feel pretty good. I've built the career that I want. I've built the client list that I want. So most days are pretty good. I mean, it's actually easier coming to work on Monday sometimes than parenting a toddler. So sometimes I'm like, oh, thank God it's Monday. You know what? I think that's cool. So yeah, maybe a 7 with room for improvement in a natural, normal way.
We've also been asking everyone, what do
does
you
everyone
need?
else say? Wait, what do they all say? What number?
Oh, it's the most interesting question for me to ask because I think I need to submit everyone's answers to a psychologist or something like that. Because some people have said -5, some people have said 25, some people have said 0, 10. Like,
okay,
it's
good.
been
I don't want to be a
over.
sad sack.
No. No, you're definitely not. And so it's just really interesting because this really simple question gets people to reveal actually a lot about how they judge and their motivations. And it's really, it opens up a lot of things by this really simple question. Yeah. We've also been asking everyone, what do you need? What do you want? Like, what's on your to-do list, to manifest list? This is a powerful, connected community. What can we help you make happen?
I would like, more, you introduced me to some people that have helped. Like, I would like to keep expanding my fashion community for sure. I think anyone that knows about your work or your reputation that would refer you to something is always a great thing. I would like, yeah, more. Maybe there's some more working mums, like it's like self-employed mums,
Mhm.
um, that could, be up for chats about how to navigate, to keep navigating. It's easy now because she's young and does what she's told, but maybe when she's older, she's going to start complaining about after school care. I don't know, all sorts of stuff like that. Um, and then at some point soon, you and I will talk about, you know, money stuff. But at some point soon, I need to work out, like, once I've got my savings now, like, do they just sit there? No. So maybe at some point soon, I need a
Yeah.
financial advisor.
Mhm.
Um, that's something I was thinking about. One of my clients works for Vanguard, and I was like, "Ooh, is that what I should do?" So I have to work out what's
Yeah.
next once some of those money goals have been achieved, which lots of them are really close. So
Yeah. All right,
yeah.
amazing. Um, I also want to know just what are some things that you love? Like, if
Hmm.
you just made a list of things that you love, what would it look like?
I really am embarrassed because I often ask myself this because I think I'm such a workaholic. I love work life and I love mum life. And then I have girls and women in my life that I now like talk to as if they're friends, but I'm at work with them. And sometimes then I'm like, don't need to see all of my friends all the time, which is terrible because I should. But I think I need to reconnect a bit more with what I love because I've just
Hmm.
been very, I've often recognized that I don't know which is my favorite restaurant, which is terrible. So I am going on vacation on Saturday and I'll use that time to reflect on that because I really like, it's really pathetic that I wish I had like an actual obvious answer. My daughter asked me like what my favorite color was,
Hmm.
and I said orange. And I don't have anything orange. I like the idea of orange, but I don't like, what's my favorite color? This is silly. So I think I've been very like service oriented for a little while, and I need
Yeah.
to spend some time on that. If I were just to think of something really quickly, because like I really don't love shopping anymore because shopping's work. I like cooking. I don't know whether I'm very good
Yeah.
at it. Sometimes I can't be bothered. um, I'm going to Italy on the weekend, so I very much will say that I love Italy. I'm looking forward to
Mhm.
revisiting that place. I used to really like reading, but I get really tired now, so I just go straight to bed. So I really have to invest a bit more time in myself. But I think that answer in
Mhm.
itself is probably, a
Yeah.
topic for future coaching. Like all work and no play make me a something something.
Yes. And again, not giving yourself enough credit because you guys have had vacations, you've taken time off, you've gone up,
Yes.
you've gone to the Hamptons, you've gone upstate, you
Yeah, I do
do a
stuff
lot
for
of
sure.
things. Hmm. If,
But I would
if we're,
like to know who I am aside from the
yes.
things that I do every day. And I used to know those things. I used to
Yeah.
draw a lot. I used to draw dresses. I used to like scrapbook, but not in a scrapbooky way. I just used to
Yeah.
like curate images in a way that like was like sort of mixed media and stuff. And I have all these books like that. And I'm like, I used to like that. Maybe that's what I like. I don't know. I
Yeah.
used to read a lot of like true crime, but then when I became a mom, it seemed a bit gruesome. And so I definitely got some time to invest in myself, I think. With another baby on the way, that seems really doable. But yeah. I don't even like planning the trips though. That's the thing. I've
Yeah.
had people send me recommendations and I'm like going to deal with that later, but that should be the fun part is making the reservations and stuff. But I don't,
For some people, it's not. I mean,
it's not fun.
if you ask me my favorite color, I don't have one. I can tell you
Mm.
what color spectrum I like better than not.
Hmm.
If you ask me my favorite restaurant, I don't have one either. I have a whole bunch of restaurants I like in different
Yeah,
places.
I go to all sorts of
Um,
places. Yeah.
yeah, like
Okay. Well, that makes
I
me
have a
feel better.
handful of, but yeah, I feel like that black and white of this is my favorite color and the rest are not. I don't know if
Yeah.
that doesn't fit me.
Yeah.
I know
Well,
there's
she's
some
four.
people
We're
that
far more sophisticated than
I like that we're now measuring our powerful ladiness against Lily.
Lily.
Yes.
She's very powerful. But yeah, I think what it is that you've tapped into something I was already thinking about, which is like, oh gosh, I've got to make some time for myself in this because, and from work, not just from being a mom, but really from work. I used to just like love fashion, and I still love fashion, but I don't need to love it on Saturday. So
yeah,
I'll work it out.
Well,
yeah.
And I do think it's interesting when both you and I our businesses are so embedded into our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So many of my friends are clients or have been clients. And so many of my friends have become clients. And, like my goal is that I only work with dream clients, and dream clients are people I wouldn't just hang out with, but would go on vacation with. Yeah. And it reminds me that I need to keep planning a retreat because I do want to go on vacation with all of you. And I don't want to have to not have like the big, powerful conversations at the same time. Yeah. Like I like mixing. To me, having it all in balance is taking everything that I am interested in and like talking about and doing, putting it in a blender and like spinning it all up together, because I'm not good at the small talk stuff. I mean, I can be, because I do know how to network. I do know how to meet new people and talk to strangers, but I like talking about bigger things more, or I like making things together. Like that's really a love language of mine. And so I try to figure out, how do I not have to separate it? Like, how can we go on vacation, talk about business, but also have fun and be silly?
Well, that's a great way of looking at it. I mean, that answers my problem for sure. Like why can't my answer be I love my work? I mean, I made my work. I literally made it up from, okay, so yes, I'm a stylist, but I'm the kind of stylist I want to be, with the kind of days and weeks and schedules I want to be. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's actually awesome. It's actually totally awesome. So I think I would just like a hobby of some form as an outlet that didn't involve, Candy Crush or something. So I will work on that in Lake Como.
Yeah. Well, you've inspired me too. Like I used to do tons of collaging, both true cut and paste and digital. And I miss that. Like I miss having that artistic outlet. I also used to paint and draw all the time too. And
it's a totally messy, easy approach to collating some ideas. Like it was literally just like, a bunch of these were like purple things I cut out, and like, let's stick them on a page together, because then the ideas are like, it's like about organizing ideas. My whole phone, my life is like a bunch of printouts and things and inspiration from everywhere and all that. So to collage them in that way is really, a nice way to file them for reference. And I don't want to ever lose ideas. So there's lots of boxes of things, and lots of books that you've pictured, and then you've got the picture of the picture, and then you've got the book on the shelf. It's,
I understand. This is why I'm thankful that Pinterest exists and Google Drive exists, because otherwise my house would be full of references.
I'm like scared. Like if you could only see what's like to my left, it's like the reference boxes that are overflowing, and then the wall, and then anyway, I stick things out. I like them. I need them around me. If they're filed digitally, I'm not going to look at them.
Yeah. It's really interesting how people sort those things. Well, it has been so lovely to talk to you and to have you on the podcast. Thank you for being a yes to me and Powerful Ladies. For everybody who wants to find you, follow you, work with you, where can they do all those things? Instagram, Kat Pope Stylist is probably the easiest way. All the links are through there. Please, I would love everyone to reach out. That would be so cool. I want to meet more of your clients and your network and your powerful ladies. That'd be so cool. So thank you for having me. Of course. All the links that connect with Kat, see her past work, and connect with her studio are in our show notes at thepowerfulladies.com. Please subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening, and come join us on Instagram at Powerful Ladies. And if you're looking to connect directly with me, visit karaduffy.com or Kara_Duffy on Instagram. I'll be back next week with a brand new episode. Until then, I hope you're taking on being powerful in your life. Go be awesome and up to something you love.